We made it, boys. We are on a news article. Before we read the article, let's look at the forum post. Okay, so there's apparently a healer strike. So here's the original Dawntrail Media Tour dungeon was already cleared without healers. All right, now I'm going to tell you this, okay? For all you 54th that thumbs down my video, this is bullshit because you can already do this.
55 now. It was me. 55 now.
Shut the up, man. Okay, you can already do this. This isn't anything new. This isn't anything. I swear to God, if I refresh this and see 55, I'm going to lose my shit. Okay, good. Anyway, okay. Just to give you guys an idea. So when we went to the media tour, me, Whoops, Arthurs, and Todd, we did a dungeon and I said, hey, I want to do this on Warrior so we can just do it without a healer because it's going to be really funny. Okay, I'll refresh. Yeah. Oh my God! Okay, anyway, so we went to the media tour. We did this. Now, I was thinking to myself, okay, I was like, man, I bet that for newer players or people that aren't like actually aware that you can do this, it's probably going to be very surprising. Because, all right, so like when you come from a different game, right? So let's say, let's say this is maybe your first MMO or you come from a different game. Your initial thought is probably not going to be, oh, hey, we don't need a healer for the dungeon. Because typically you will need, some type of healer or something for battle content. So I want to be perfectly clear here. Doing a dungeon without a healer on a warrior, it is not impressive. It is not challenging. The only thing you need to hit on warrior, for the most part, is literally bloodletting. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you guys is that anybody can do it. I was able to do it while clicking my abilities. I didn't even have, like when we first started the dungeon, I didn't even have decimate on my hotbar. I did this to try to like bait people into being like overly critical. So let's just look at some of the comments first. We're not gonna look at all of them, but just to give a little bit of context, okay? This is already happening in the game. To all the losers crying about Xeno clearing a dungeon without a healer, cry more. You probably AFK him. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Amazing bald head, my lord. This is literally disgusting. Why are healers needed? For if you can do this with low-level gear for the content, they should just bring back cleric stance if this was the direction they're taking things. Okay, I mean, entirely, this is not false. Okay, this is kind of not false. Kind of. It's like 50-50. The drama his caused is so funny. Great work, Xeno. Lamau at this vid, starting a healer strike that is now 170 pages and counting. And also, of course, it was Xenos. He literally made healers quit the game. They're going on strike. So guys, this has been a thing since Shadowbringers. I mean, honestly, this has been a thing since Stormblood. Probably even Heavensward. I'm pretty sure Warrior has always been able to do this, even in a Realm Reborn. So the fact that a Warrior can still do this, it's not really that crazy. The thing is like when you come from another game, it might seem a lot more crazy than it actually is, but it's really not that crazy. Like, I'm going to tell you guys this. If there's anybody in chat that hasn't tried to do this or that is interested in doing this, I promise you, just go in there with 3 friends, go on Warrior, and just every pull use bloodletting. You will do exactly the same thing I did. It's not that crazy. You will be able to do it. I promise you. Okay. And if you die, it's okay. By the time you die, if you even die, everything's going to be dead and the DPS are just going to kill the rest. Okay, this is kind of crazy. Been playing since Stormblood, and this is the first expansion I've considered not buying. Of course, I still pre-ordered like the brainless sheep that I am, and I've still paid for the privilege of Square Enix running the game to the ground. Healers are, I mean, look, dude, this is me, man. This is me. I relate to this because I'm gonna buy every single expansion. This is me right here. I can't even shit on this guy for this because this is literally me. If they ever nerf bloodletting, it will be a cold day in hell. So hopefully, man, I brought some humor to the 14 community because like typically the type of drama that I like to cover is not serious type of drama like with, Desolence, Lionel, that type of stuff. That type of stuff is like criminal level. It's like actually like psychotic behavior. I don't like to cover that kind of stuff. But, obviously for what happened, I'm going to continue to do so. However, typically the normal stuff that I like to cover is drama like this. I really believe that it makes people laugh. And that's one of the things I enjoy most is being able to make people laugh. So hopefully this brought you a little humor because I thought that this was fucking hilarious that so many people were upset at this. This was the original post. Not a fan of this guy in particular, but I think it's pretty sad we're still here in the same boat again. Okay, so I am beyond livid. Not a fan of this guy in particular. Okay, why? Why? What is it about me as a person? Is it because I'm bald? Is it because I'm loud? Is it because you think I'm mean? I want to know. I want to know what it is that, not a fan of this guy in particular. I want to know exactly what the fuck it is, because I bet whatever the fuck it is a dumb reason. Healer Strike, I would like to make this official thread for those in support of Healer Strike as a collective voice to the dev team to express the dissatisfaction with the continued direction the game has gone concerning healer gameplay and what it has arrived consensus that has deemed to be a negligence towards the role, as well as the players who main it. I would like to note that this thread is not to attack or in any way intend to be offensive towards any member of the dev team, director, producer, Yoshi P, Square Enix, or any of its affiliates. The purpose of the Healer Strike in this thread is to garner support for necessary changes and adjustments to be made in order to once again validate its place in content that requires grouping, and an equal contributed effort among all members of the group in order to facilitate clears within Final Fantasy XIV. Please use this thread to voice your concerns, express your feelings in a constructive manner, point out issues, make suggestions, and to add your name to those who will be striking. The strike entails that players will not be participating in group content as any of the 4 available jobs to the healer role. It is understandable that they are likely active statics that are still working on Endwalker content and healer maids in general who would like to finish out the current expansion. In fairness, I would like to give those healers who wish to participate a grace period before the strike is official. Please provide your feedback as to the conditions to end the strike and the date it should begin. I am thinking the strike will be officially underway when Dawntrail launches on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. I appreciate your time, fellow adventurers. Let our voices and our hearts be heard. So my issue with this is if they're fine, like I actually don't care if people are going on strike. People are free to do whatever, within reason, they're free to do whatever the fuck they want to do. I'm not going to make fun of somebody or anything like that. I do think it's funny, but if that's how they choose to spend their time, then it's whatever, it's harmless. I don't really care. However, I will say this, I said this last time. I think that this is an extremely bad time to start doing it. You would not want to do this on July 2nd. You would want to do this like now instead of July 2nd, because correct me if I'm wrong, I am pretty sure that 99.9% of people are not going to do this because it is new content and they want to play their fucking job. If they're going to strike, in my opinion, the strike would be more effective at a time like this when people no longer care. You have a time now. Let's say you actually do care a little bit and you're just like, well, fuck it. I just won't play healer. Maybe make healer queues go up by literally 1 second, which is like not really effective at all. Maybe I'll just do it now because when the expansion drops, I don't give a shit about any of this crap, because the fact of the matter is this is how the job is designed. This is how the job will play in the first raid tier and probably the first ultimate. So regardless of what I think, I will have to play the fucking job. It doesn't matter. So going on a strike when the fucking expansion releases is really stupid, considering the fact that you are going to have to play that job in Savage content. They're not going to redesign healers because of this shit right here. Are you crazy? Like, these people have unrealistic expectations. And another thing is this: how many people in here prefer not to play healer, but when it comes down to it and you don't want to wait longer than 5 seconds for a queue, you just say, fuck it, I'm going to play a healer, and you get an insta queue? Because that's me. If I don't want to wait more than 5 seconds for a queue, I will play a healer just to fucking do my shit. That's me. So anyway, I think the strike should happen now, not on July 2nd. Just out of curiosity. And I'm not trying to like flame them or shit on them or anything like that. What is this person's experience with the game? Do they actually do the content that they're striking against? They have not cleared a single Savage. This person's post and mentality will probably come from ignorance, because you definitely need a healer in Ultimates. You definitely need a healer in Savage. Yes, Savage and Ultimates have been cleared without a healer, but those are in extreme conditions, and it's not something that you can like base any type of realistic data off of, if that makes any sense. What I'm saying is if this person were to actually do any of the content that he's saying you don't need a healer for, they would find out that you do in fact do need a healer, and they probably would not be as upset. I think that they have an unrealistic expectation of the content that they do and perhaps their skill level, because if you were to force healers to have a dungeon, I would be hesitant to believe that this person that doesn't do anything but dungeons would be able to actually clear a dungeon. And the reason why I say that is because in the past, there have been dungeons that have literally been too hard. They have literally had to nerf dungeons in the past. So a really good example, I'll do a more recent one that you guys are probably more familiar with, is the Burn. The Burn was insanely intense for a dungeon, and it was not very well received. Was it hard? At first, I didn't fucking believe that it was, but apparently it was. The Mist Dragon shit on kids. Blue Cloud mentioned Pharaoh Sirius. For those of you that don't know, holy shit. That first boss of Pharaoh Sirius, it's the guy, and I don't know if it's the same, but it was the boss. It's like a zombie and he summons dogs and shit. Pharaoh Sirius absolutely fucking shit on kids. Like, I'm not even kidding. It was so bad that if you got it in the roulette, you would just have people leave right from the start. I'm not even kidding. So there have been dungeons where a boss or a particular section of the dungeon was challenging. So anyway, self-sustain and healing abilities given to other roles. The choice direction to give such abilities to roles outside of healer encroaches on the role. Oversimplified DPS rotation. Every job in 14 has a filler GCD that they press when there are no other requirements. No role in the game pushes the skill more than healer. Not by a long shot. Our offensive capability should still feel dynamic and rewarding. Yes, we are healers, but we are also casters. Homogenization of healer jobs. There's no individuality across the jobs in the healer role to give them a sense of identity. Seraphism mode change in angelic opposed to Fey. Excessive off GCD heals. These are not only abundant but exceptionally powerful. This is in addition to self-sustain on other roles, reduces the dynamic of healing comrades. Lack of threat level in nearly all forms of content. Healers should feel like they have a place in all forms of content. It is understandable that difficulty can be so great as to bar progression of story-based content. However, innovative means should still be employed to make greater full use of abilities. This person is basically speaking from a mentality that they don't know. They don't understand. If this person truly has never done Ultimate, let alone Savage, then they really have no means to speak on a vast majority of this shit here. Because you definitely need a healer in Savage and you definitely need a healer in Ultimate. But that's not to say that this person doesn't have points, right? Like an oversimplified DPS rotation. Spamming one button isn't really fun. That's why I would never want to main healer. Some people are saying that the design of healer is bad. And I disagree with that. I think that the design of healer is actually very good. The direction that they are taking healers is bad. There is a clear distinction here. And the reason why there's a clear distinction is because design-wise, they are insane. They are easy as fuck, and you have ridiculous amount of off GCDs and power from a single kit. However, that doesn't mean that the direction is good. Like basically for the amount of work that you put into, healers do a crazy amount of damage and you have a shit ton of like safety buttons and other features. They're actually designed very well because they're extremely effective and they're extremely easy to play. That is very good. There's upsides to the way that healers are currently designed, but there's also downsides. For those of you that didn't play back in Stormblood and, you know, Heaven's Ward or Realm Reborn, healers had to work like 3 to 4 twice as hard to deal way less damage. You had like 4 extra DPS abilities. You had an actual rotation. You had like dots you had to manage. You had less off GCDs. Basically, you had more shit that you had to manage DPS wise. You also had cleric stance, which added a whole other level of intricacy to the job. You had to be in cleric stance to deal damage, but while you were in cleric stance, you couldn't heal. So if you were in cleric stance trying to heal, then you would heal for like literally 2 HP. Yes, and that's the point. People back then complained that DPSing as a healer was too hard. Like, people have to understand that the reason why the healers are the way they are is because of us. It's not the devs. The devs are listening to us. This is what we wanted. That's the thing that people don't understand. The devs' original design was way different, way harder than what it is now. But we, as a collective, as a community, my blankie. I remember you brought me the blankie, but I had my one eye open and I wasn't asleep. And, well, just change the healer. Make it easier. Okay? So what did they do? They made it easier. And what happened? Now people are bitching that they're too easy. We did this to ourselves. We are the ones to blame. So if you're ever like, man, fuck these devs. No, fuck you. Because you're the reason they're like this. Let's see. So we'll just take a look at some of this. Same feedback's always been ignored. I won't be touching healers for Dawntrail. Okay. I already removed auto payment and it's going to let my house just expire. Ooh, okay. So a house is opening up, guys. Dude, that's so stupid. Some poor DPS could have the plot. Like, why are they they are going to need something to do with that queue time. That's so salty. Holy shit, dude. So salty. Oh my. Healers have had several threads with hundreds of pages. Okay. I support the idea, but given their direction and the apparent addition of AoE heals to the DPS class, increased self-healing for tanks, I am unsure whether they would be any meaningful changes to the healing class. All right, I'm just going to tell you this right now, guys. People always complain about how like easy the jobs are. They also complain about how easy healing is, all this shit. They complain, oh, this is so easy. This is so easy. This is so easy. I'm going to tell you right now that you do not want Square Enix to make things hard. You don't. Because when Square Enix makes things hard, I'll tell you what happens. The raid scene dies. The game becomes so hard that no one wants to play. Yes, and this has literally happened because people complain in A Realm Reborn that the raids were too easy. So what did they do? They came out with Gordius. They came out with Gordius with DPS checks. They had extremely like intricate rotations for the jobs. It was extremely punishing. And you know what happened? A shit ton of people fucking quit playing the game. The shit was too fucking hard. The jobs were too hard. Blah, 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 blah. Everything was just way too fucking hard, man. You do not want Square Enix to make things difficult. You don't. You think you do, but you don't, man. Yes, there has to be a middle ground, and I believe that middle ground is Stormblood. What we have currently, I think, is a bit too imbalanced. I think that the raids, they have too many body checks, and the DPS and the rotations of jobs are not hard enough. I think that they need to lower the body checks just a little bit, and they need to up the difficulty of the jobs themselves. I am a firm believer that being able to play your job should be a part of the difficulty. I think that whenever you go into raid, playing your job to the best of your ability should be a part of the difficulty. What does body check mean? It means that all 8 players must complete the mechanic correctly or you wipe. That is a body check. Now, having 1 or 2 body checks in a raid tier is fine, you know, especially on the final turn. That's fine. That's acceptable. It's understandable. But having every single fucking mechanic of body check is obnoxious. For most of the time playing this game, I thought I was alone in thinking that healer gameplay was a little brain dead, for lack of a better word, in the vast majority of content. Pretty much all dungeons boiled down to casting your AoE shield, spamming your one attack for a situation, and repeating. The only thing making them exciting while leveling is the prospect of getting new toys as you progress. Once you hit max level, the appeal quickly fades. I've been a healer support main, and pretty much every MMO I've played in 14 probably has the worst overall experience of them. So while I agree with this person, I also say that this is subjective. My worst healing experience was not 14. I'm not saying this person is wrong. I'm not saying that they don't have any points. I'm just saying that from my experience, it hasn't been the worst, but it's really fucking boring, man. Either our kit is too strong for healing to be interesting, the sustain of other classes is too strong for healing to matter, or our DPS rotation is too one note for healers to have any, this is actually a really good post, to have any complexity outside of simply healing, whether it be one of or a combination of all 3 reasons. The result is a role that is borderline unplayable, dull, and certainly not fun or engaging in nearly any situation. And to think, I just finished leveling all the healers for 90 for Dawntrail. Oh well, at least I leveled the tanks too. Okay, this is the thread. Let's look at this. This is funny. I don't think I've ever been featured in an article before. I have actually been featured a lot on the Japanese forums and the Chinese forums. So Final Fantasy XIV healers are going on strike over Dawntrail changes. Final Fantasy XIV, dude, look at this thumbnail, man. Why is little Zeems in there, man? Final Fantasy XIV healers have decided that they finally had enough, organizing a strike to take place on the day of Dawntrail's release over other roles getting more healing options, their simplified DPS rotation, and lack of challenge across all content. Final Fantasy XIV's upcoming Dawntrail expansion is launching pretty soon, bringing with it a new race, an increased level cap, 2 new jobs, and a bunch of new abilities for all existing jobs. For most people, it's a pretty exciting time to be Final Fantasy XIV player, but there is a section of the game's community that is feeling that they've once again been overlooked, as healer mains are going on strike upon the release of Dawntrail. While healers have been rather dissatisfied with their role for quite some time, their disappointment hit new levels after a popular Final Fantasy XIV content creator, Xenosys, uploaded a video, which you can find above, of himself clearing the first dungeon of Dawntrail with no healer during the game's recent media tour. Yo, you know what I should have done? I should have just soloed the whole thing, because I could have. Okay, that's what I should have fucking done. I should have spent like 45 minutes just soloing this thing, all right, and uploaded that motherfucker, you know? The video sparked outrage from the healer community on the Final Fantasy XIV forums, which has now blossomed into a full-scale strike. Final Fantasy XIV players are going on strike over Dawntrail changes. Dude, this is just so funny to me, because I'm sitting there at the media tour and I'm like, yo, we should do this without a healer because it might upset some people. Like, you could ask Arthur's, Todd, and Whoops, dude. I fucking told him, I was like, dude, you guys, we got to do the dungeon, but nobody go as healer. Final Fantasy XIV players are going on strike over Dawntrail changes. 1 day later, a player called Jamina created a thread for those in support of a healer strike to make their voices heard. In the post, Jamina lists the manifesto on behalf of the game's healer community of changes they want to see in future content. One of the prime concerns is the amount of self-sustaining and healing abilities given to other roles. particularly the tank job, as they feel it encroaches on the role of a healer if other players are keeping their health topped up. Hello, warrior mains. Okay, so just real quick, I want to say that the game is not balanced around dungeons. The game is typically balanced around like Savage and Ultimate. Like, you can literally clear a dungeon with any comp. I feel like it's a mentality that people need to understand. It's an expectation that people just need to have, is that if content in the game is easy, it's because they don't balance shit around it. Yeah, and it should never be balanced around dungeons. Does anybody in this fucking chat even give a shit that you can clear a dungeon with any fucking comp? Does anybody actually care if you can solo a dungeon? Like, nobody cares. You'll do dungeons for like multiple reasons, but for me personally, some of the top reasons I do like roulettes and stuff is just one, I do them with friends and I do them with you guys. Like, I don't actually care how we clear. You know what I mean? I'm doing it because I want to just hang out with you guys. It's more for like background stuff. It's more like that we can come together and just hang out while something is going on in the background. And that something happens to be like a dungeon or a trial or some shit like, you know, like an older trial or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Another big issue players have is the oversimplification of the healer's DPS rotation. This is a good and valid point, as the role is infamously dull when things aren't going wrong. This is true. Since healers are supposed to be focused on healing, there isn't much flair in their damage rotation, and since players keep being given more tools to keep their own health topped up, it means healers are stuck doing repetitive rotations, often spamming one or two spells. I will say that this is definitely applicable for dungeons, but in like early Savage, I don't think this is applicable. A vast majority of people are going to definitely rely on healers. Now, as far as the spamming the one button, that is true in like pretty much all levels of content difficulty. Basically, you can say that the healer DPS rotation is dull because it is. I do agree with you, but you cannot say that they are like invalidated in Savage and Ultimate content. You will never see a normal party finder up without two healers. There are more issues the post goes through, including job homogenization and lack of difficulty across casual content, something which Yoshi P has addressed in the past. The post has managed to gather hundreds of comments to support from other frustrated healers, and a strike is now planned to take place on Dawntrail's release on July 2nd. During that time, players will not be participating in group content as healers, so depending on how much traction this movement picks up, you might find healers sorely lacking when Dawntrail drops. Hello, I'm from the Japanese community. I use a translation tool, so sorry if my English is poor. There was a post in the Japan forum informing me about this thread, and I learned of this shocking move. First of all, I would like to state that there are many personal thoughts and not the consensus of the not the consensus of the Japanese community. I'm sorry that I may not be able to reply very often, as I really need to use a translation tool to communicate with you. Regarding the issue of healers, attack rotation being too monotonous, Japanese players' reaction is quite different from yours. Almost no one has a problem with the attack rotation. I don't know what they think differently than you do, but one opinion I sometimes see is if you want to attack, just play DPS. Okay. I don't recall seeing a more specific discussion in the Japanese forum than this opinion. I agree and disagree. Unfortunately, your opinion will not be accepted in the Japanese forum, but I am not going to disagree with you guys. I usually play mainly as a healer in Extreme and Savage, but I also play as a DPS or tank if I want something different and exciting. When pointed out to me, I have a feeling that this, when I want a different excitement, may stem from the fact that the healer's attacks are too simple. I feel it when I get tired of them. However, I myself do not see the need to change anything about the attack spells. I may need some more time to think about it. For now, I will be very curious about the difference in opinion between Japanese and English communities, and will keep an eye on what happens in the future. Thank you. This is really cool hearing like from the Japanese, like, I guess, forum side or whatever, you know? I just really feel like that the devs mentality is they're really, really, really adamant about your one character being able to play every role. They're using that as a reason for the way things are designed, right? At least that's what I get. That's the feeling I get. So whenever they're like, no, the healers aren't boring. If you get bored, just play another role. Because technically they're right. Does that mean that we can't want more from a certain role? No, not at all. But I'm trying to like put myself in their perspective. I really think that they're trying to crutch on that a bit too hard. I would love if there was some type of, I'm hesitant to say skill tree system, because at the end of the day, skill trees are an illusion of choice. However, the illusion can be helpful. The illusion can be helpful in the sense that it's not just flat out dull. There's always things to at least think about, even if it's like suboptimal or maybe some weird situation where, let's just say that, you know, you do have a skill tree. It's like a healing tree on Dark Knight. Let's say that you have been scarred many times by healers not healing you, and one of the talents in your skill tree is PBN is now a heal instead of creating a shield that just heals you. I would take that. Will that ever happen in this game? No. That is true. People would just copy the best setup in the end. That is true. That's why the skill trees are typically an illusion of choice. But the thing is, man, is that sometimes illusion of choice can be good. So this was an interesting thread. This was very funny to hear. Just out of curiosity. Yo, hey, what's up, guys? I want to talk about... it went down, boys. You know, this is actually fucked because this started at 60 and now it's 123.
A lot of yapping and not a lot happening.